Alright, what's going on, guys? Try back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video for today after that big Season 8 finale for The Walking Dead Season 8, as well as the premiere for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4. In this one, we're going to do a Q&A, but we'll start with giving our thoughts on the ratings for The Walking Dead finale and Season 4 premiere Fear. And spoiler warning, as per usual, if you guys have not seen the finale for The Walking Dead Season 8, as well as the premiere for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4. So we finally got the ratings in for these episodes, and I definitely wanted to kind of give my thoughts to let you guys know how they did, just to see where fan interest lies. Now, we do have to factor in with this one, there was the Survivor Sunday shown at the theaters, so we have to add on a little bit there for all the people that went to see it live in person, and I hear from you guys it was pretty sweet to see them both back-to-back in theater, and you didn't have to see commercials, so that's always good. Right? No commercials is fun, so that's good. And we got to add a little bit. So I think both did pretty well considering The Walking Dead Season 8 finale, Episode 16, Wrath, did 7.92 million U.S. viewers plus the theater showing. And you also have to factor in, too, this is just the U.S., so there's people that watch it all around the world. There's people, I'm in Canada here, people in the U.K., I know there's a lot of U.K. people who love it, and other countries as well, too. Don't want to downplay anybody, wherever you're watching from, whichever country. It's cool. There's people all around the world that watch Walking Dead, love The Walking Dead. So 7.92 million, so it's pretty much 8. You could say with the theater showing, which might be another million or something. I don't know how many theaters it was in and how big the showing was and how well they did, but we got to add on some for that just to make sense. So in terms of how does that stack up versus the rest of the season, pretty damn good. That pretty much puts The Walking Dead Season 8 finale at the highest since the mid-season premiere, which was 8.28. You could even say that because of the theater showing and kind of how it was doing that, probably the Season 8 finale might be the same or a little bit bigger than the mid-season premiere. So that's really good. That means that you had a bump of a couple million here because the episodes were kind of trending at around 6 million U.S. viewers, 6 point something in this back half of The Walking Dead Season 8. The first half did, a lot of the episodes were at 8, but it is what it is. Not everybody came back after the Carl thing to kind of see the rest of the season after that mid-season premiere. But I think that's pretty good news. That puts it at a pretty good level. Certainly not what it was doing the last few years, but still a step in the right direction, a bump up. And I think that it sets us up in a pretty good spot for a nice time skip after the end of this season, and probably going into next year with Season 9, most likely getting even higher viewership, even higher numbers probably. So that's The Walking Dead Season 8 finale, so pretty good news there. Now, here's the interesting part. In terms of Fear the Walking Dead, so in the second block, so we had the first hour, if you're watching it on television, you had all the commercials, all that stuff. The second hour. So you get all the craziness that happened in the Season 8 finale, all the change, all the things that twist, and Eugene, and everything, the bullets and all that. And then the resolution of the war, and then we see Carl with the flashbacks and all that. We go into the second block hour. So we have the John scene. We see that it's Morgan after a few minutes. It's a few minute long scene. Then you see it's actually Morgan who's there. And then we get our kind of crossover entrance here. So we have our first appearance in Fear the Walking Dead for Carol, Jesus, and Rick, which is Rick being the biggest one, I want to say, because he's our lead. But Carol's awesome, too, and Jesus he's okay. He's like Glenn 2.0, kind of. That's the way I think of Jesus in the TV series. It's like a second version of Glenn, because Glenn's dad. And he doesn't do quite as good of a job as Glenn did. Or Stephen Yeun did. So it is what it is. Okay, so second half of this Survival Sunday was over 4 million views, plus we got to add in the theater showing, so maybe 4.5 to 5 million people watched the second hour or watched the premiere for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4. So that's great. That's up pretty much double, I want to say, from where Season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead ended, because Season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead was at about 2.25. So that considered, and there was some episodes that were at 2, like Fear the Walking Dead Season 3 episode 11, which tends to be kind of a lower one for some reason for both The Walking Dead and Fear, was under 2. So it's more than double the amount of people came to watch Fear the Walking Dead Season 4's premiere versus some of those episodes in Season 3. It beat all of Season 3 in terms of the ratings, which is awesome. And you're looking at a little bit over half of the audience, it sounds like, or around half, stayed to watch Fear after they watched, the Walking Dead finale. So about half the audience. So what do we think about that? So you're going through Walking Dead, you're watching it, you've got 8 million something people watching it, and then they switch to Fear, and you get about half the people. I think that's pretty good. That's probably about as good as you're going to do, as you're going to be able to do, to keep people engaged and keep people watching that second episode, giving Fear a chance. I think Fear has always been one, since the first season, it really has kind of struggled. The second season started off good. The second season's premiere of Fear was 6.67 million. And then it went down, where the second half of season 2 was in the threes. So it went down quite a bit. It went down half during that year, during the second year. And the first season of Fear was actually the highest rated it's ever had, with the premiere being over 10 million people, 8, 7, 6, 6, 6. So you had pretty much the first season of Fear, you had more people watching these episodes per episode in terms of the ratings than the second half of The Walking Dead Season 8. So that's kind of crazy to think that back in 2015, when Fear the Walking Dead premiered, it was actually doing better than The Walking Dead second half was mainly doing now, episode by episode. So you compare, those 6 episodes versus those 8. None of the episodes in this half of The Walking Dead did 10 million viewers. But again, things are changing. It's what it is, and it's just how things go sometimes when things get hot, and then afterwards not so much. But Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, I think that's pretty good news for it. About half the amount of people stayed to watch it as we're watching the Walking Dead series, and we'll have to see next weekend, or this weekend coming up on Sunday, how many people watch the second episode and come back after seeing that kind of Morgan crossover hook episode for The Walking Dead Season 4. I thought it was basically a perfect start to try to get people into Fear and come back to watch it for this half season. So 8 episodes going through to June 10th each Sunday, and I'll be reviewing them, be covering them with you guys here in the channel. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'd say overall this is pretty good results for what you can expect to see, given how the show has been trending for The Walking Dead, and a good bump for Fear, as a lot of us expected it to be. But certainly leave a comment below and let me know what you guys think about those for Fear. Are you surprised that only half the audience roughly stayed for the Fear showing, or are you saying that that's about what you can, probably about the best you're going to get anyway, and that Fear was good, and or just how you felt about it, or were you one of the ones that tried Fear with Morgan in it and were still like, even though Morgan's in it, I still don't care, and just turned off? It was a lot to be released in the same night. People aren't exactly used to it, and so that could have a lot to do with it as well too. I didn't watch Talking Dead after, because that would have been like the the third hour, and that's just too much for me. I mean, that's a lot to watch straight through. Then we'll get into your guys' Q&A questions for today, and certainly if you have any others, you can send them to me. I've done lots of videos on the channel this week. If you guys haven't seen them, or if you've missed some, we did some Whisperer theory videos. We did a Sherry possibly being Alpha theory video. We did, a review for the finale, a review for Fear, all kinds of stuff, predictions for Season 9, all kinds of stuff in the channel for you guys. If you missed any of those, click the channel at the bottom and check them out. They're there for you. David Cox says, the finale didn't have a cliffhanger, ? Waiting over the break for Negan to Club Glenn and Abraham was must-see TV. They didn't give us anything to be excited about for Season 9. So I think that with the way things kind of set up here and having All Out War finally come to an end at the end of Season 8 here, it looks like what they were mostly trying to do was set up Fear the Walking Dead this year. This is the first time they've ever done a crossover. It seems to have worked at least a little bit. Now, you can argue how much, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think about that and how well the crossover kind of system they set up here on Survival Sunday worked. I thought it worked well, and I thought that it felt good all the way through, and that you'd have a lot of people watching, and it sounds like about half, so it's not too bad. I would expect a little bit more, but whatever. As far as next season, they did say Heath was coming back. They did say Marie Bella was going to be in the season. Neither of one showed up. So did they have Whisper set up or something kind of planned, and they decided to go with a crossover instead? That's tough to say. I would think that might be the case, because they did say for sure that he was going to be there, and he wasn't. So maybe what they decided to do is, instead of having a huge cliffhanger for next year, they decided to set up Fear, cross over into Fear, try to get that audience to just keep watching each Sunday, and that was their kind of goal for this year. I'm sure the trailer for Season 9 will have lots of stuff to set us up for a great Season 9, so heads up for that. That'll be in July. At Comic-Con, they usually release it each year, so I'm sure we'll see a very new Walking Dead there, and it probably will sell itself without having to have any, huge cliffhanger in this season. But they did have the Maggie stuff, which was kind of cliffhanger-y a little bit, with Daryl coming out and being like, we're going to get him type of thing. So there was that. There were the Whisper Easter eggs that you could see. And, aside from that, really, the rest will probably have to be in the trailer, and it's gonna be a huge time skip. So I don't think it's going to be difficult for them to promote it. I don't think it's going to be difficult to get people to watch it. I think the Season 9 premiere for The Walking Dead will do just fine by itself because you have a different looking Rick. You have your whole cast is going to look different. You're going to have a couple year time skip at least, maybe longer, or at least something. And I'm sure that, at least I'm assuming they're going to do the same as the comics, which they might not. But everything looks to me like they're probably going to rebuild and do a couple year time skip here. And then we're going to come back and see a brand new Walking Dead, a very new Walking Dead Season 9, new showrunner, All Out War's done, Negan's done. So, a new Walking Dead. I don't think it would have been cool to see. I don't want to make it sound like I wouldn't enjoy seeing some kind of Whisper thing here in the finale, direct scene with Heath or somebody like that to set up the next season. But maybe they just felt like we don't want to confuse the viewers. We have enough here to set up fear. Let's go with that, and we can trickle out some other stuff later in trailers or teasers or whatever as we get closer to Season 9 premiere. And I think that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah. Derek Laubach says this entire season could have been much better if they condensed this plot to half a season. Man, the Oceanside payoff was worthless. So, it's true the Oceanside payoff wasn't that. At least it had some explosions, right? The Michael Bay explosions weren't too bad. But as far as the whole season being condensed to half a season, it was what it had to be, I think, based on the TV series. I mean, you could have done All Out War, that part to All Out War in one half and crushed it down, and it would have fit okay. And it would have been a lot like Season 5, where they just blew through the termites or the hunters storyline. But I think they were ambitious with this one. They tried to do something big. They tried to have the most action-intense season they've ever done. I think they succeeded in that. There's more action all throughout The Walking Dead Season 8 than ever before. It's a unique season. It stands on its own as something you can rewatch. It's probably going to be very rewatchable. I mean, you lose Carl throughout the season. You have all the back-and-forth fighting, which is always exciting to watch. You have the final confrontations between Rick and Negan. You have the fight between Rick and Negan with the flaming Lucille. You have Simon and a fight between Simon. There's a lot of good stuff in Season 8. There really is, man. And if you crush it all in, you take out a lot of that stuff. Maybe you do, Negan's defeated at the mid-season finale, like Too Far Gone, and then the second half you have maybe a new storyline where you start to trickle in the Whispers, and you have Carl haphazardly die somehow. But it just, I don't know, man. I mean, if you're going to do a time skip, you kind of have to do it at the end of a season, I think, because you need time to rebuild all those environments. If you're going to bomb Alexandria down, you're going to destroy all this stuff. You're going to have the sanctuary, look that way and do everything they did with that. And then you're going to have the time skip where everybody comes back looking a couple years older. Rick looks way different. Everybody else looks way different. Maybe you leave that for the end of the year. So maybe it just makes a lot of sense. And they added in a lot of stuff this year that they felt like it was justified to have it be the whole season. I'm not upset by it. I think that in the future you'll look back at Season 8 and be like, damn, All Out War was crazy. That was a crazy season. Them killing Carl was so unexpected. And afterwards, with Season 9, it's going to be a lot different. It will be. It will feel way different. No more Negan. It's been a couple years like that. So it's going to revise the show. It's going to refresh things. And it's going to be a lot different. So I think that, while there could be some pros, and it might have been more well-received to condense that storyline down, to blow it up in terms of longevity of that season, for people to go back and rewatch it, it's very rewatchable. It's special because they've never done anything like All Out War before. And, in the end, you set up fear like that, so that's cool. They just did a lot of stuff. They did a lot of stuff, and they had a lot of big ideas, and I don't think that's a problem. They could have just crushed it in and brought in the Whispers early. But again, burning through comic book content for The Walking Dead is also not a good idea. They did that in season 3, which was a great season to see. But then again, that's not sustainable long term. You're going to burn through it. You're going to catch up to the comics, and then you have a big problem on your hands because you don't have content, and the show and the TV series, or the comic book series and the TV series, are kind of too close, and it causes problems in and of its own right for what you're going to do when the comics is no longer ahead of the TV show. Sick Germ says, The Walking Dead just seems to have lost its magic a bit, and I'm not really sure what it is, but there just doesn't seem to have the same sort of intensity that it did during the Governor arc, for instance, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. It's strange because the last season of Fear and the first episode of this season have been really good. I seem to be more excited about Fear than I am the original series, and that shouldn't be the case. I think that is, stretching out All Out War does have a part to do with that, I think, for sure. But at the same time, The Walking Dead Season 9 will be so drastically different. I think that a lot of people will get, re-engaged in the series, will really, like seeing those episodes, will really like all the changes that they've made, and will really go into that thinking like, okay, the show's going to be a lot different. Maybe it can get a little bit of its magic back by reinventing itself more drastically than it has these last couple of years. Negan stuff, the Negan stuff didn't really translate for the general audience as well as I thought it would. At the beginning it did, with episode season 7, episode 1, which was the issue 100 kind of translation. After that, though, it wasn't received as well as I thought it would have been, which is strange to me. It could be partially because of the series being on so long, but also they've changed the style of the show from a survival horror to more of like a interpersonal, intergroup type of drama with the war and everything in a larger world. So it's just it's different from the earlier seasons. Fear still has that survival horror kind of style to it, which they did in Season 3 a lot. But with The Walking Dead original series in Season 8 here, I mean, they have to keep changing the show. All Out War was one kind of style. For some people, it might be one of their favorite seasons ever. Season 8, for me, it's one of my top seasons. It really is. It's not a season that I thought was a weaker season or anything. Everything they did with Carl, Simon, Rick, everybody, Negan, and everything. I'm kind of glad they took the season to do it, and they didn't kind of rush it in, and then we were wishing we could have seen more of Simon, or we were wishing we could have seen more stuff happen, and we didn't get to see it. So I'm glad they kind of took their time to do it, and Season 9 will be really new, and I think it'll get some of that magic back that kind of people are like looking at it saying like, the war got a bit old and Negan got a bit old. So, it'll be fresh and it'll be new next year. Scott says, hey, Trev, long-time viewer here. My question is, do you think we could possibly see a longer time jump for Season 9? Something like maybe, between, it's going to be 2 years based on the comics. Now, they might change that for the TV series version, but the comic version was 2 years of a time skip after All Out War. So most likely Season 9 will be probably 2 years, so they'll probably stick it to be the same. But if they made it longer, what do you think about that? What do you think about Judith taking on Carl's storyline from the comics if they did like a really long time skip, like 5 to 10 years or something? And so I don't like the idea for Scott here. I don't like the idea of making the time skip too long because it just, and having Judith kind of grow up quickly, she could kind of be Carl's age. After a couple year time skip, she'll be like a few more years old, so there's that. She won't be that young, but she'll still be like a toddler. Maggie will have her baby, and that kind of stuff will happen. But then for, if you were to go further on in a time skip where you had Judith be a teenager, everybody else would be so old and it would be so different. And if you wanted to do any kind of further crossovers between Fear and The Walking Dead, you wouldn't be able to cross back over. Like, it would cause problems if you wanted to do any characters coming back from Fear into The Walking Dead. And also, it would just, you'd have to so drastically change what everybody looks like. To go from this point in time to 5 years down the road, people would have to look way different, and it would just be too long of a time skip. So I think a couple years is about as good as you probably should do, given the story. And if you do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it's like too much. and it just won't feel right to me. So there's some advantages to doing a longer time skip with Judith and that, but I think that the disadvantages with our current roster of characters and Maggie's plan and everything like that, it can't be too long. It's got to be rebuilding, and then after they're finished all the rebuilding and stuff, we see what they've been going through, and then we quickly start to get some new storylines here with the Whisperers, Maggie and her stuff versus Rick and Michonne with Negan, and some of the other stuff they're doing here with the Sanctuary and maybe the Oceanside a little bit, but they haven't been well received either. That's for sure. Zombified Killer says, Trev, Q&A question. In the Season 4 premiere of Fear the Walking Dead, at the beginning, when John Dory said, platypus pasta portable, do you think that's a connection with the PPP card Heath found and a possible additional kind of crossover Easter egg? So for Zombified Killer, I do think it is an Easter egg. I do think it is something that they did on purpose. Kimball is pretty detail-oriented, so whenever I see stuff like that, I usually think it's done on purpose. There's some times where they'll do stuff that I look back and think, okay, maybe that wasn't a thing. But I think with that one, yeah, I think it is. I think he put it in on purpose for sure, and it's what it is. Yeah, I think so. And then Kecker says, Trev, at what time were you most excited for The Walking Dead? For me, it has to be either to see who Negan killed or after Morales returned. Would love to hear your answer. So the most excited, ever was probably the Season 7 premiere or the Season 5 premiere. Those two times. Season 6 was pretty hot too, though. I was really excited near the beginning of that with JSS and the herd and everything. That was awesome. So, but I might go with you. I might say the Season 7 premiere with who Negan killed and seeing that scene was probably the most exciting The Walking Dead has been so far and may ever be until maybe the very end. Let me know what you guys think. What was the time you were most excited for Walking Dead? And let me know what you think about the ratings for The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, how they're doing. And if you're excited to see Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 2, just let me know how you guys are feeling about the series and what you think about these ratings results for the finale and Survivor Sunday. That'll be it for today's video, guys. If you liked it, please don't forget to thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, and if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do so. You can subscribe to the bottom left. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. I'll see you soon.